Right, so let's start with the second video of the answer discussion for question papers of ethics asked in 2022. In the last video, we had discussed about the integrity question and general paper analysis. In this video, we'll talk a bit on one of the cases asked in UPSC in this year, right? So, yes. So this was question number 8. If you see, this was a case study worth 20 marks out of the 6 case studies. This was the question asked in UPSC. So this is a situation wherein you are the vice principal of a degree college. Um, Please kindly go through this case study in detail. I'll just brief you the solution, the expected discussion on this case in this particular video. So first of all, before discussing this case, I'll just like to tell you about some do's and don'ts in a case study. So mind you, always in the examination, make sure to read every case study at least twice, right, before you kind of get on to write or think on it, right, so that you identify a larger picture and the broad issue. Don't go into many specific nitty-gritty of the situations. Like in this particular case, one might also try and look into the kind of roles played where the situation is happening, all of that. Actually, if you see, then every other's context is somewhere or the other you can elaborate upon it, but then you have the limit of space and time. That's why you need to address the larger picture, right? It's not possible to exhaustively deal it in that time frame of 12 to 15 minutes. So you should actually address whatever the core issues are there, right? So don't delve into every minute detail. There are some issues, some facts which are more important than the others. Concentrate on that. Second is connect with all the knowledge which you have in ethics, right? So this is specifically a case study on ethics. So whatever you have read in the first part of the this particular subject, which is your ethics and human interface, values, attitude, emotional intelligence, all these and similar things, any kind of philosophy and thinkers you would have studied, kindly make sure to use them, even if not directly. If you don't want to name them, then at least use the principles behind them, right? So connect with your knowledge. Keep the time and space limit in mind, right? So you generally have 12 to 15 minutes for the case, right? And the space you have is somewhere around 2 to 3 pages, right? So kindly don't go and exceed, right? You don't have one question only to write. So you should have this in mind, that you would kind of to the best of your ability, you will kind of holistically address the situations and conflicts and issues presented in the case, right? Similarly, work on the structure part of it. See, at the end of the day, all the case study, if not specifically about issues, then generally it's about decision making, and there are various steps to decision making, as we generally teach in our courses. So there are facts involved, there are issues involved, there are while before deciding any one particular option or a course of option, you tend to you need to generate certain choices, certain options, right? And from them you choose your uh, course of action or the kind of steps you're gonna take. And the most important, I think, the step should be, and the most rewarded step should be your uh, substantiation of the choice, why you have chosen. The justification is very important. So keep your thought process clear. Your kind of just don't elaborate on one aspect beyond proportion. Have this dimensionality thing at the back of your mind. Justify your chosen choice, and then give a futuristic conclusion if at all possible, right? So we'll just directly start with this case, so some of the facts you can see in that case is vice principal, the protagonist or the person who is the issue or the person who has to decide means you are the vice principal of a degree college, right? And there's a feeling that management may promote you as a principal. Some flying squad, or maybe you can simplistically say an investigating agency from the university, catches two students red-handed involved in unfair means. A senior lecturer is also involved, who is close to the management, and these students, one of them is the son of the local politician who is influential in giving the affiliation to this college, right? Getting the affiliation to this college from the university. And the second one is the businessman who has invested in the college, who has given grants, right? And management has told you to deal with the situation, to resolve this issue with the flying squad, because much things are at stake. The image of the university, the people involved, right? The management is very clear that they can't get into conflict with the politician or businessman, because they are very important people for this particular college. And they further give you a hint, right, that your promotion might depend upon it. And the immediate situation is, someone tells you, the administration tells you, that there's a protest going outside the gate, right? So what are the ethical issues involved in the case, and the options you have, and why you would choose any option, right? Even if, see, one of the things I want to tell you, even if they explicitly don't ask you these questions, even if they just give you what are the options involved, or what they'll just give you a situation, then also you need to know that in decision making you do these things, right, which I said in the last slide, about the facts, about the issues, right, about the generating options and then making a choice, right? So uh, directly going on to the situational analysis, or what are the kind of issues you may find in this particular case. Broadly, you can identify various conflicts going around and some of the issues involved in this case, right? So the very caveat is, I'm not expecting, or the examiner is not expecting to write all of this in your answers. Maybe it's not possible within 2 to 3 pages. However, some of the pointers you can pick from here, and this is a kind of guideline for writing an objective answer which is expected out of you, right, in the examination. So the conflict involved is your personal versus professional, right? So personal conflict is, you kind of expect a promotion. If you comply with the directives of the management, you are kind of at peace. You are not getting into conflict with the management. You have a more conformity kind of a behavior, right? However, your duty towards the as a VP of the college, your oath as a teacher, you have also agreed while signing this joining as a VP, that you would be kind of, in any organization you are expected to obey your superiors, right? So that's also your duty, right? Then obviously there's a gradation, as in obviously the self would come later, and the professional, your professional duty would be higher than that, and the social duty towards the society takes much precedence, right? So there's a gradation always going around there. We have always talked about, like, ethics is about the choices, ethics is about the others. So definitely when I'm making a choice just keeping the center as myself, then I'm not being largely ethical, right? So again, one thing I would like to tell you here is, ethics is about what is ought to be done, what should be done, right? So in such situation, what exactly you will be doing, or practically you will be doing, has might vary, but in an ethics answer you need to right? You need to project at least that this is the course of action, or this is the choice I'm going to make, right? So should and ought part in an ethics answer is very important, right? So again, the second conflict could be the professional versus social. Professional are the ones I've told you in the last point, and the social is you have a duty towards other students, you have a duty towards society, right? Similarly, there are issues involved dealing with the corruption or unfair means. There's a nexus going on. You, as you can see, the management is telling you, right, because politician son is involved, businessman is involved, right? So collusive kind of corruption, as your ARC says, or the unholy nexus between the neta, dada, lala, babu, those kinds of situation, you can, it is perceptible, right? Certain those kinds of situations going on around here, right? Similarly, there's a conflict of interest going on because the person who has donated in the educational institution, his son is studying, and it is said that you cannot take action against him. Similarly, politician's son is studying, so conflict of interest going on. Accountability towards self, accountability towards the institution, accountability towards the society is also an issue lying here. You can also see that if you go against the directives of the management, you need to have the moral courage of fortitude, you need to act with integrity, you need an objective set of rules and an impartial behavior to take an action in this particular case, right? Similarly, dealing with yourself in such a demanding situation where you need to make a choice, and dealing with your superiors, your students, other lecturers, the kind of decisions you will take, how will it impact the brand image of your institution and society at large. Emotional intelligence also comes into picture. Similarly, attitude as in how assertive you are, social influence, right? In social influence, you study various kinds of conformity and compliance, all those kinds of things. How assertive you are and how persuasive you are, right? What kind of message you give, being a messenger, what are the characteristics of message you provide, right? How you provide it, all of that is a part of attitude. And in conclusion, largely we'll talk about the preemptive, or you can think of the measures wherein such kind of situation could be preemptively avoided, right? So this is the kind of analysis of the situation. Some of the issues you don't need, I repeat, you don't need to write all of that in your exam, but some of the major pointers, some of the ethical issues, you can pick it from here in your answers. Now we directly talk about the options available. The first option is you may pay heed to the management. I generally, option writing is itself a craft, and it's not always easy. You just can't write, I'll do this, I'll do that, right? So options should be like well thought of, right? They should kind of address the situation holistically, right? So there may be, so this is typically, this takes maybe two lines, or maybe and kind of a situation. You will do this and that will affect in that, right? So that is again itself a craft. So the three options which I have thought about right now is paying heed to the management. I'll collude as in collude, just um, having an impression that you might probably bribe the flying squad or those kinds of things, so as to save the image of your institution. That is actually one of the things which has been indicated to you, and not take action against the lecturer or students. There would be some pros and cons to it. You need to mention, just maybe because you don't have time, you need to mention maybe one pros, one cons to it. uh, I hope you can think about it. Being a demanding and decisive situation, I'll seek leave to avoid any repercussions on my career or personal life. Maybe you you take the first step, and the people or the students protesting outside the university, they might go to your house and they might harm you. Similarly, if you tend to decide it otherwise, then you are maybe going against your conscience and those kinds of things, which will have repercussion on your personal life. So this is the second choice. And the third choice, which will be the chosen course of action, is like as a conscientious, and a conscientious is a person rooted in whose conscience is clear, right, and a duty bound vice principal of the college, I'll take this course of action, right. So there will be a course of action involved here, because you see there are protests going out there, right. You need to actually address them also, because in short term you also need peace to deal with the situation. You can't just let that protest escalate, and then media coming in and then destroying uh, the image of your college beyond proportion, and all of those kind of stuff. The existing teachers and other students, they also might get affected. So you need to think upon short-term long-term solutions. So immediately what I'll do, I'll address the student union to avoid any escalation, and I'll kind of as a VP, I'll reassure them whatever the right steps would be, that would be taken. Then I'll maybe talk to the investigative agency, the flying squad, to really understand what's the gravity, whether maybe a warning would do, maybe suspension is required, maybe restitution is required, right. So I'll kind of understand the whole situation objectively. Then as a VP, see, understand that there may be things beyond your control, because senior lecturer is involved, right. So you probably might not take a decision. You might have to recommend your course of action, and maybe principal or some higher management takes decision. So you kind of maybe say that your the assertive using your assertive communication, you will recommend for the adequate action against the offenders, be it lecturer or students, to discharge my responsibility towards myself, because I am a conscious person. I cannot go against my conscience, right. I have a duty towards the students as well, other students, because I need to be fair and ethical for them, and a duty towards college at large, right. The branding of college, the image of college, all of that is into picture. Similarly, the society at large is involved. Whatever kind of action I'll take or not take, that would display the kind of ethics my institution follows, right. So I have a gradation of duties, and I'll kind of address those things in the question. So the chosen my choice would be, I'll choose the third option, and this is a very important part of the answer, I believe. One of the part which carries a substantial marks. You can choose any two or three of them. If you have studied deontological perspective, the mean should be right, teleology consequence should be right. Immediately, if maybe I take an action against this person, these people involved in unfair means, that might result in maybe short term bad consequence for me or the college, but long term it's good either for me, for college, for the students, even the parents of the students, they would also be benefited in the long term. Similarly, virtue ethics of Aristotle, what kind of character is propagated by my action, right. I need to justify this choice of mine through the duty of myself, institution, and society, through the concept of conscience, through the emotional intelligence I would imply to deal with this kind of pressure situation, in which I probably might need to resolve the own conflict going around in my mind, whether I should go this way or that way. The kind of emotional intelligence I need to impress upon the management, my that this course of action is right, because this is probably needed in the long term for the branding of the college. Maybe in the short term I might not invite wrath of the politician or the businessman, but in the long term the college itself won't exist, because the good people or even the media might blow it out of proportion. So all of that things I need to keep in mind, right? My decision should be based upon objectivity and the wholesome perspective. I need to be seen as a man of integrity, right? So I'll use my persuasive skills, my social influence skills, and the stakeholders involved. I might, in a line or two, maybe two or three stakeholders, I might say that my decision would actually positively impact the other teachers, the management, myself, the students, the parents of the students, and the people at large, right? So uh, out of these things, out of these pointers, I think one or two or maybe three you can take up and showcase that you probably know the subject, and you know how to connect your knowledge to a given situation, and also that you can think in more than one dimension, right? So that is the case. And finally, the final line you could write about the conclusive statement could be the preemptive measures you might take. You might frame a code of ethics for teachers or students. There may be a code of conduct, but code of ethics is not there. What kind of, in such situations, how a student or teacher should behave, and what kind of actions needs to be taken, that might be codified, right? And besides that, you kind of can take actions to avoid any conflict of interest situation, like politician and businessmen here, in any kind of such conflicts in future, right? So you will take preemptive measures towards that. I hope this gives you a large idea about how to address or write a case. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.